So that was insightful. Next, we have a fireside chat to figure out how to stay ahead of this technology. And Jagruti Bhikha will be moderating this session. She works at Anita Borg Institute as a director and also leads a lot of women initiatives from there. So we have Jagruti and Preeti Somal from VMware to have this fireside chat. Thank you.
I'm going to take a look at it first to see if we have any men in the audience. Oh, I'm so grateful for you guys for being here and supporting us women. And I think next year I'm going to ask for your help to fill this room 50-50. Are you guys up for that? Good. Well, thank you for being here. I know it's a beautiful Saturday morning in California. You'd rather be driving your kids or making meal plans or doing grocery shopping, but you left all that wonderful tasks to be here. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you so much, Preeti, for being here. It's going to be a wonderful 15 minutes, and it's going to be the best 15 minutes because we're going to solve all the technology trends and challenges right on the stage. Okay? Yeah. So I hope you're ready for it. So let me just give you a glimpse of what has happened in the last few hundred years. 17th century, they didn't even have a word for scientist. So Isaac Newton was called natural philosopher. Now, I think I like the word scientist better, right? 18th century began with the Industry Revolution. Steam engines replaced the animal labors, and we just started that innovation trend. Right. 19th century, where we made tools that made other tools, machines that made tools for other things, the assembly line began. So there are like one or two things happening, big things in every century. And then comes 20th century. It started with airplanes, automobiles, and radios, and ended with spaceships, cell phones, wireless internet, and Google, I think.
The end is near, right?
Yes. And the 21st century arrived roaring with innovation. And I truly believe, I want you to mark my words, I truly believe that in next decade or even sooner, babies are going to be born with their first sentence to their parents, "Are you connected me on Facebook?" So it's really getting to a point where innovation is happening daily in our life. And it's actually at times very overwhelming. So I'm hoping Preeti can set some trends for us and help us understand where we are and what we're going to do with this amazing innovation that we hear and feel and are connected with, especially in the Valley. So before I begin with my questions, I want Preeti to tell us 3 things about her that we haven't read in her bio. If, it's all on the web. But whatever is not on the web, we're going to find out from Preeti. So Preeti, tell us 3 things about you.
Sounds great. I'll tell you a few. So I guess the first thing that comes to my mind, given that we are here at TiE on the women's panel, is sharing the fact that I was the only girl in my engineering college class. So I went through 4 years of engineering college, being the only girl.
Wow.
In a class of about 40. Which, by the way, had some benefits, which I can share later. Learned a lot, learned all the swear words that you learn for those of us who went to engineering college in India. But I think that was one thing that sort of really taught me as well to not feel shy when I walked into a room full of men as I started my career and progressed in my career. So that's one. I'm doing all the balancing and leaning I can. I do have 2 kids, 12 and 8, so still pretty busy for me. And I guess the third thing that I'll touch upon is something that for me personally is a classic example of how much change has happened and continues to happen. And so I'll share a story here. I came to the United States to do my master's right after I finished my engineering. And back then, calling India on AT&T was $3.58 a minute, right? And about 7 years ago, we had a niece of mine come here. Within a day, she was connected on Facebook and Skype, chatting with her family and friends for no cost. And that, that particular example to me drove home the fact that change has happened so rapidly. And like you, I believe that it's going to actually happen more exponentially over the next few decades here.
Great. That's great. Let's lead to my first question. So Gartner Research recently published a report on technology trends, and some of the trends they talked about are big data, semantic technology, the logical data warehouse, and so on and so forth. So can you talk about some of those trends if you are working on them at VMware, or where do you think those trends will be? I mean, are they real, and what can we make out of that, and how do you feel that these are the impactful technology as we talk?
So, I think there is change all around us, and Gartner is identifying a lot of these. In my specific role at VMware, I'm working on some of the cloud infrastructure products. The biggest change we're seeing is how data centers are evolving. And I hope some of you got a chance to go to the software-defined infrastructure track yesterday, but we're seeing tremendous amounts of change around software-defined networking, storage, cloud computing, big data, and a lot of these are real and here. And there are things that happen in your daily life that show you some of these things coming in. For instance, all the personalized targeting that retail sites are doing now, right? If you're a working mother, I'm sure, as my daughter tells me, all her clothes come from the big brown truck, right? So all of you have been to all the retail sites, and a lot of the big data pieces are coming in. So absolutely, I think what we're seeing now around cloud computing, around infrastructure becoming so much cheaper, around the amount of compute power that you can rent and not have to buy, enabling things like big data, analytics, and even extending into things like healthcare. I'm sure all of us have read the article around the genetic testing happening now. All of those are examples of how technology and changes are now really impacting our daily life, our well-being, our survival, as well as our efficient functioning on a day-to-day basis. So yes, being at VMware, we talk to a lot of companies that are coming in, and we see constant change happening around us.
So big data is obviously not a myth, which I knew about it, but it's just so big that there's so many slices of big data. How do you use big data, if any, type of your projects at VMware, if you have an example to share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most relevant thing that we're doing at VMware is around sort of innovating around ways where we can make it easier, faster, and cheaper to run big data within enterprises and medium-sized customers, right? So really our role around big data in terms of being a technology and enterprise software company is how do we enable big data and those technologies to be something that can penetrate even more, so that it's not just, for instance, the Walmart labs that can afford something like that, but it can also be your average enterprise that can bring big data infrastructure in-house and use and harness the power of that. So lots of interesting work happening at VMware around big data and virtualization, and how the two trends coming together can really benefit our customers.
Very, very good. So my next question kind of leads into, like, we hear about technology trends almost on a daily basis, and then Gartner comes and establishes some sort of myth, so it settles some of the myths and says, okay, these are the truly, true trends that we are seeing from the research that we have. But in Silicon Valley, on a daily basis, we hear about something that's being innovated, right? I mean, creativity and innovation is all around us, especially in the Valley. So how do you, for example, Web 2.0 and social networking, right? I feel that those two, no matter where you're working, can impact your life.
Right.
So as a woman technologist and a person of influence at VMware, have you used any of the social media networking or Web 2.0 tools to propel you forward in your career or in your life? And how do you integrate technology at work and technology of life that your friends and family are connected with, specifically to propel you or advance you in your career as well as your personal life?
Right.
If you can give some examples of that, would be great.
Great question. So definitely, I think as change happens, people sometimes view change as bad, but I firmly believe that change brings opportunity. And even on the last panel, what we heard is as change happens, that's where innovation can happen and more opportunity is generated for all of us to not just make our lives better, but to also advance our careers. So one advice I definitely have is that don't shy away from change. Learn about these new technologies coming in. And to your question, have I used some of the social media? Yes, within VMware we have an enterprise social network that we've got going, and we use that very frequently to hear from not just our teammates and people within my organization, but also from our field. What's happening with customers? What are they seeing with product issues? What is the team feeling? Everything from product to morale to site. One of the things that is a reality at this point in time is a hugely distributed geographical division and group, right? So we have sites all over the globe. My team is, for instance, spread on 9 different geos, right? How do we keep in touch with all of this? And we are absolutely using social within VMware to be able to do that. Web 2.0, one of the things I'm doing, for instance, is in June, I'm going to a hands-on course around Hadoop and managing Hadoop.
Very
so
cool.
Also sort of taking advantage of the various learning opportunities that are available within the company and around us, being in the Valley, to make sure that we are up to speed with the trends and really getting deeper into what's happening out there.
Right. It can be really difficult. When you're working, it's like you are working in one technology area, and to be able to keep up with what else is going around you, it can be difficult. But that's a great suggestion, that look at the opportunities you have available within your organization and around you, especially in the Valley, to see where you want to improve as an individual and take advantage of it. Great advice.
Yeah. To the difficult piece you mentioned, I always joke with people that I don't believe that I used any of what I learned in my undergraduate and graduate degrees in my career. But the most important thing that we actually learn is to keep learning, is how do you make sure you're curious and you know how to go find out and learn more as you're entering the workforce and as you're progressing within the workforce.
Right. Absolutely. That is, it reminds me of Steve Jobs saying, stay hungry, stay foolish.
Right.
So I think that we can take in, one slice of that and apply to our life. It could be very beneficial. Last but not the least question, and what advice would you give women going into leadership position for the first time? And specifically, what are you doing to ensure that you continue to grow and move forward in your career?
That's another great question. So what advice would I give? One is be yourself. A lot of times as women advance in their careers, they think that they need to become somebody different, but you don't. You need to be yourself. You need to be confident in the abilities that you bring to the table. And I see this a lot within my teams as well, where women sometimes lack that confidence. You are capable, you should be confident, and you should go ask for what you believe is truly your ability and you can deliver on. So I really believe in that. In terms of what I'm doing, for me, an aspect of being successful is always stepping outside your comfort zone, learning and doing more. And I do a lot of different things. I take these hands-on classes. I'm also doing a lot of travel, meeting with my teams. One item that you sort of run the risk of as you grow higher within an organization that is fairly large is to get out of touch with what's actually happening within your groups. And I'm a big believer in management by walking around. So I have about an hour a day where I basically will walk around the building and meet with people, chat with them, meet with them in the kitchen, and so on. So it's a combination of making sure that I'm in touch with the reality of what's happening within my organization. I am learning more. I am finding those opportunities for growth and for making sure that I'm constantly doing something that makes me think, that makes me sort of step outside of that comfort zone.
Absolutely. And I think we've heard this morning again and again is that, your destiny lies within your hands. You got to figure out, what is it that you want? What are you hungry for? And how far are you willing to go? And Preeti just gave us another example of, and it truly, that is the case. My mantra has been, stay happy and stay hydrated. I think if I'm hydrated, I can do a lot of things. So having said that, we have 30 seconds, and I want to thank you, Preeti, very much. And thank you, audience, for being here. I know you have more, better places to be, but it can be better than here. So thank you for being here.
That's great.
And stay hydrated.
Yep.